Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Czech Service Industry Podcast. I am Reyshan Parker, and if you haven't yet, please go watch my television series Beyond the Czech Worker Owner Edition, now streaming on Amazon Prime and Tubi TV. Fox's Tubi TV, it's free TV, and all the chefs and owners on the show are fantastic, so you should totally go check it out. I have a fantastic guest today. She was born in Addis Ababa. Did I say that right? I don't know.
Yes, you did.
She moved here to the United States with her family at age 12, and she learned the art of Ethiopian cooking from her grandmother and her aunts. Her busy career was in hospitality, which didn't leave her a lot of time for home cooking, and Ethiopian food takes a real long time normally to get the flavors in there. So she spent a lot of time developing, real world, easy recipes for us Americans, I suppose, or anyone else who just wants to make Ethiopian food on the quick. She says you can do it in less than an hour. She has a fantastic new cookbook out, Enebla, which means let's eat, in case anyone else didn't know, because I did not know. Recipes from an Ethiopian kitchen. Ladies and gentlemen, Luladey Moges. Hello.
Hi. Hello.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. Funny story. Season 3, we were in Texas, and we went to an Ethiopian restaurant. So it'll be on season 3,
Nice.
a place called Taste of Ethiopia in Texas, where my wife got to experience Ethiopian food for the very first time. And super exciting. She was not prepared for the spice.
It is. Hey, it's spicy food. We do have some non-spicy alternatives, but in general, it's spicy food.
I mean, I enjoy it all the time. The bread has always fascinated me and my inability to make it. So,
Well, there's a recipe in there for it if you want to give it one more try.
I think I will.
Yeah.
Awesome. So you got here when you were 12, huh?
Mm-hmm. I did. So, yeah, the way it kind of worked out was, we were living back home and everything. And then the family was like, especially myself and my older brother, we were getting towards more like high school years. It was very important for my family to just kind of move to the States for like better education. So when we segued into college, it would just be a lot easier. So family just kind of packed up and
Here
moved
you
to
are.
Dallas, Texas.
Texas.
Mm-hmm.
Well aware of Texas now. I do not like to drive in Texas. What part of Texas are you in?
We were
Are you
in
still
Dallas.
in Texas? Dallas?
No, I'm
Yeah.
actually in Los Angeles now.
You're like traded the humidity for
Well, initially
Perfect
it was
weather?
Dallas. Then we moved to the East Coast, and I've been up and down the East Coast. But I've been living in California now for about 9 years. I was in the Bay Area. I was in Oakland and then San Francisco for like 7 years. And then my job actually relocated me to Los Angeles area in 2019. So I've been
good
here.
timing. Good timing.
Oh my God, it was like the perfect storm, right? I moved here, and then 6 months later, the whole world shuts down. So it was.
And LA.
Definitely.
I have lots of friends who were in LA at the time who are no longer in LA.
Everybody left.
They
I know.
all left.
Yeah. Well,
They
I mean,
did.
obviously it's for the safety, but it was just definitely, you do go stir crazy because of, them closing the beaches. And it was like, I was hiking every day, and then they closed the hiking trails. And I was like, oh no, what now? So,
Like, those are the one things that you should leave open, guys.
yeah, I
Outdoor.
know. I mean, in their defense, though, there was a lot of people abusing it because, everyone was either unemployed or working from home. So even when I went on hikes, I lived close to Griffith Park, and I would be hiking and I would see a group of 20, 30 people hiking together. And I'm like, wait, that kind of defeats the social distancing. I'm doing it solo. So it was getting kind of abused. So,
Yeah.
But
I'm in
everybody kind
Savannah.
of
I'm in Savannah, Georgia, so we had the complete opposite. We just did whatever we wanted. Yeah.
No, so COVID didn't exist in Atlanta or Savannah.
Nah, I mean it did, but not to the extent that everyone else. Some of my favorite states are the ones that realize the middle ground of it. Because there really is the middle ground, and and it's so polar. The country's so polarizing as it is that everyone just naturally gets pulled to the one side or the other, and both at the opposite ends are fucking ridiculous, right? So you got to stay logical, and you got to try to remain in the middle of all of the insanity. Find a happy medium. Yeah. Because the truth is in the middle there somewhere, not in the far extremes of either whatever. But anyway,
the good thing that came out of it, though, is like, this is a project that I've been trying to do for like 7 years, right?
And you got your book done, because you know how many people got their books done during that? A lot of people got their books done.
Yeah,
and
so I
congratulations
was furloughed.
to you for yours.
I know. So I was furloughed for like 18 months. And so, like you said, it was a shutdown and nothing to do. And I was going stir crazy. And it was actually my sister who was like, because all my entire family's in the East Coast. So I was just here by myself, me and my cat. Like, I need to get out of here. And I genuinely was going to leave. I was going to just drive cross country just to go be with my family. And, my sister was like, why not take this opportunity to work on your project that you've been trying to do? And I was like, what a interesting idea. Exactly. And
so is the cat co-authored in here anywhere? Or?
Right? No, she was sleeping the whole time. So,
on your keyboard, of course.
Probably, yeah. Or the piece of papers that I was writing on, and so it was just so that's honestly like everybody has a different experience from COVID and lockdown and everything. And mine, this is the one positive that came out of it, that I got to spend so much time that I, right now I wouldn't be able to do because I'm back to work full time. So it's just kind of like I gave my entire full attention on working on this and menu testing and trying and everything. So who were your test subjects? You couldn't. Who were you feeding? So
the cat. I'm sure the cat loved it all.
Believe it or not, seeing as I was new, I made lots of friends with my neighbors, where I would just randomly knock on the door and be like, "Hey, I made a dish. I want to know what you think." And then I had
good for them,
lot, right? And then we became friends, and a lot of people were actually like messaging me or leaving me note going, "Oh, we smell something coming out of your apartment. Do you have any leftovers that we can test out?" Like, they actually got involved in it with me. And then, everybody was kind of stuck at home. So I have friends like nationwide and even international. So I would send them recipes and say, "Hey, try this out. Give me feedback." And so cool. People got really involved with it. And so I would write something, and then I tried targeting people who either never had Ethiopian food or never made Ethiopian food, because it's
I'm sure you didn't have that hard of a time finding those people.
I know, right? So that's who I targeted, is because I wanted to make sure that if this was a person who's like your wife, who's never had it or never made it, can follow these recipes and still create the same thing. And getting their feedback and stuff was kind of like me tweaking it, and helped me achieve this final product.
I love it. I'm totally going to try the bread. There it is. Kitfo, Ethiopian beef tartare.
Yes, one of my favorite dishes.
Super simple. The only thing I don't, what is mitmita?
Yeah, so it's basically a spice blend. It's going to be spicier than the berbere that we use, which is basically in almost every recipe, but this is going to be a spicier level. And I do want to emphasize that the most important part of this dish is good quality meat. You are eating this meat raw. So
it is steak tartare Ethiopian style.
Exactly.
This is the dish that got my wife on the show. The woman making it, and she was making it with her, just like handed her a handful of it, like on camera, like into her hand. She's like, "Put your hand out." And she's like, "Plop." Jordan's like, "Okay."
I know.
And it was hilarity that ensued from that point forward for a good 5 minutes, and then a lot of apologies.
Did you like it? Yeah, I would never do that. I would eat, if you've never had Ethiopian food, I wouldn't go to that extreme, right? Like, you need to baby step them in.
I got a huge kick out of it.
Yeah. Did she like it, or was just very like, "Oh my God, I'm eating"?
It was too hot. She spit it out. She couldn't.
Definitely
she tried.
spicy.
The rest of the crew liked it. I was washing everybody's hands off, like in the sink, because she just plopped it in everyone's hands. And they're like,
well, we do eat with our hands. We do enjoy doing that. Yeah.
But as far as like the spices, because I know that there's things that I'm just not going to get at Kroger's in here.
So there's like the main and staple ones, right? So the berbere you have to get. The meat mita, if you're going to do that, because the meat mita is not in a lot of our dishes, so it's not necessary, but berbere definitely is. And I highly recommend going to, in any city that you live in, I'm sure there's an Ethiopian market. And even though you think there isn't, like Google Ethiopian restaurants, and those restaurants have markets inside of them that they sell these ingredients. And if you can't get that, then it's also any like
Amazon.
Amazon's your best friend. Like you can get everything on Amazon. Very true. So that's going to be the biggest one. Everything else is interchangeable, like the Ethiopian butter, which is very specific. If you can't get that, it's okay, because I don't always cook with butter. I usually use olive oil, and for people who don't like olive oil, you can do vegetable oil. So it's
or
not
new
like
avocado oil.
Or avocado oil. That's a really good one. Mm-hmm. That's a very good one. So it's just more, it's not going to affect this flavor as much. Just don't use regular unsalted butter from the store. Just don't do that. It's not the same.
Very wrong. Not the same.
No.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Do not use regular butter.
Yes. Exactly.
I use olive oil pretty much for everything anymore.
Same. I like it.
Unless I'm like, you just need, to French it up more, and you just throw more butter in.
Do a little bit of olive oil with butter. Like my buttered noodles. You have to do that. You have to do both.
Just need a little bit.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, so other than that, all the ingredients are pretty easily accessible, and you can get them at your local Kroger. Like if you're looking at like the lentil stew, all the lentils you can just get at any grocery store, or if it's the collard dish, just get regular collards, so everything is very easy to get. Is just that main spice. And then if you also want to make the injera, the Ethiopian flatbread, then yes, and you have to get the teff, which is very specific. And
so what? See, that's the thing. What?
It's called teff, Teff. And that's specifically the flour that we use to make the bread.
Yeah, okay. I knew there was a secret.
Yes. So that, that's going to be one of those things where, because it is gluten-free and it's very, very specific type of grain. It's not interchangeable. You can't change it with flour. Then it becomes doughy because you won't get that.
Because it's like... Yeah, the fluffy, aerated.
Exactly. With that little spongy feeling.
Yeah.
So... And that I can guarantee you they do sell on Amazon too. So that's another place you can purchase it.
That's probably how we've all been messing. We just do wrong flour. The secret's in the flour.
Because then you don't want to turn it into like bread, right? Like
no.
Yeah, doughy. So.
Or like you try to make a big airy pancake and you're like, maybe this is how they. Nope, that's not it.
No, it's not. It's not going to turn out right. But yeah, and I did try to go out of I made sure to like note in every recipe of like what they can, interchange it with, and then when not to interchange it. Like, please do not substitute with flour. Please do not use unsalted butter.
Regular butter. Right.
Exactly. Like
very important asterisks is here, people.
Yeah. So that, because I understand like a lot of times people look at it and be like, oh, I could just substitute it with this. Like, no, don't. There's certain, in the dishes, especially for somebody like your wife who is not used to spice, like it will say use 6 jalapenos. You don't have to use 6, use 1. Because your palate and
flavor, but
exactly.
You don't need to sweat out the rest of the day.
Well, yeah, because, and I don't know if you got a chance to look into it. One of the things that I throw in there, and initially when I tell people, they all laugh, but it makes sense, I swear, is when I first meet somebody and they ask me to cook for them, and the first thing I do is I do the Taco Bell test, right? Because at one point or another, majority of the people that I know have had Taco Bell. So I always ask.
Taco Bell test.
Yes. So
okay.
I always ask, okay, when you go to Taco Bell, what salsa do you get? Because you always put salsa. So do you get the mild, you get the medium, you get the hot, you get the Diablo. And based on which salsa you're both... See? So that's the thing. So your tolerance is, I'm sure, a lot higher than your wife. I don't think she's getting fire, right? She might be getting mild or medium.
Mild, very mild.
Yeah. So that's how I would gauge on what type of food that I would make you. So like the kitfo, I probably wouldn't have given that to your wife because that's fire and higher, right? It's more like the Diablo level. So that's how I always gauge people's spice level and recommend like how, what kind of dishes that would complement, because it's something that you need to build up, because I feel like spiciness is subjective. So there's certain people who love spice and they enjoy it. But for me, having food being spicy, I need to enjoy it still. It's supposed to be a flavor, not blowing out my flavor palette completely to a point where then I'm like, okay, well, now I don't taste the food anymore. I'm just basically trying to get through it, just trying to stuff food in my mouth. So I don't enjoy that. Exactly. Like,
it's so good, but it's hot.
Yeah, that's never good. And I trust me, I love spicy food. I just like spicy, flavorful food, right? It can't just be just completely, to a point where I'm sweating and crying and I can't even taste the meat that I'm chewing.
Right. I had some Indian food the other day that was supposed to be medium, but no medium.
You sure you didn't accidentally order it Indian hot?
No, it was medium.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's how we're all raised too, right? So it's what you're introduced to as a child. It's what you grow up with.
Exactly.
It's how your taste profile develops, over time through childhood.
It's just what you're used to, right? And so I've been eating this food since I was a baby. Like I'm used to it. I love spicy food. Like I literally eat raw serrano and jalapenos.
And it's so good for you.
Yeah, I think so.
No, it is. I mean, just spicy food in general. It's good for it's great antioxidant. It's good for your blood. It's antibacterial, right? It's eating spicy foods does lots of benefits for the body. And
I know.
Including just help you sweat out toxins.
If you have a cold, I'm telling you, fastest way to just clean out your all of the sinuses. But
my dad used to snort cayenne pepper.
Oh,
I'm not even making that up. Like he would take like a bump of cayenne pepper when he had like a bad cold. I'm like, why do you do that? And he's like,
that just sounds painful.
Okay, I know, right?
No, don't do that.
He did that. He's also he was a ghost pepper eater.
See, I can see that. I can see eating a ghost pepper just really shock your senses. Fine, but not cayenne pepper. No, I can't. That's too much.
And I swear it was red. He wasn't just doing drugs around me. I swear to God, it was cayenne pepper.
It's just like, I get it. It's like one of those home remedies where you're like, what? No. But I'm sure it worked.
Yeah, my mom actually used cayenne pepper to seal my head back together when I cracked it open as a child.
What?
So
Isn't that painful?
No, weirdly enough, because you don't feel the heat in your blood, right? So if you have a cut or something, then you can just put cayenne pepper on top of it and it basically coagulates it, right? So it'll stop bleeding.
Wow.
So it's kind of it's like dry cauterizing. So you just keep dumping up, pat it a little bit more, and eventually it just makes basically the cayenne pepper turns into the scab.
And it doesn't burn it. Like it's like no. I'm picturing it like adding salt.
Don't lick it.
And oh my God.
But no, it doesn't actually burn into, because you don't have,
well, the next time I have to get a cut, I have to try this. Like, it's interesting because I
mean, a bad cut. It's good for if you just don't want to go get stitches.
Oh, okay.
So
some people use glue, but I guess cayenne pepper was the way to go.
I think I don't know. I gashed part of my thumb one time, and it was pretty bad. And I was like, cayenne pepper. Do what Mom said. I'm gonna try it. Hey,
wow, and it worked.
Yeah, that works.
Hey, they do say Mom knows best, so I will definitely have to try it out.
We didn't go to doctors. We had the olive oil rubbed on our feet and in our ears, and we had colds. Yeah, garlic olive oil.
A lot of Bengay on your chest when you have a cold.
Oh no, we stank. We would keep vampires very far away because it was literally she just had this infused olive oil with garlic, right? And that was You rub it on your
And that's
feet,
what
it soaks
helps.
in your feet. Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. A lot of echinacea too.
Hey, at least she didn't make you snort cayenne pepper. Could have gotten
No,
worse.
she did not.
Okay?
She did not. But oh god, what I would have done for just like some nasal spray back when I was a kid, though. My god, that stuff is amazing. I always just wanted like a hot poker, like I had to imagine what my father thought while he was snorting cayenne pepper, but just to like be able to breathe. And God, Nasonex, man, that shit works. Boom.
Yeah, it does. Of course. Oh, trust me. I mean,
wow, real medicine. How about that?
You should see like California and their like sinus season or whatever, allergy season. My God, it's definitely, I always have to have one here because it'll just be like, oh, nothing's happening. And then all of a sudden I'm like walking out and just sneezing and crying. It's like, what happened?
Allergy season.
Yeah, exactly. And it feels like it comes around every month here sometimes. So,
right. Because you don't really have seasons. Right?
Yeah, right now the season we're in LA is hot season. We are over, I'm not kidding. It's been over 102 for the past 3 weeks.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's heat. Like, I mean, like huge heat wave.
That's hot.
All of next week, we're basically like, today's 104 and then it's like 106, 108, 109, all the way up to like next Monday. We're in the 105 and higher. Yeah. So I'm like,
we're hitting fall over here now, and this used to be like we didn't used to have fall or spring. It was just hot and humid.
I would take anything below 90 right now. And then of course the drought. So we're in a huge drought. So that's been rough.
Oh, California.
On my grass. Yeah. So it's like, because it's like they were like, oh, you can only water your grass twice a week, and then it went down to once a week. Now it's like no watering anything at all for the next 3 weeks, or you get a fine because we're in a huge drought season.
I'm super surprised everyone just doesn't have AstroTurf in California already. Like, just you like the fake grass. You know what I mean? Just the fake grass.
Like just the nice grass.
But you guys always need water because you take it all from.
That's very true. Every time, like I actually had a coworker who lives in Atlanta, and she's like complaining of this rain, and like she lost the power because it rained so much. And I'm like, can you send some over here? We could use some right now. Like, please.
It's been raining all day.
Has it? Oh,
yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
But it's also humidity of 100.
Yeah, at least we don't have the humidity. It's just dry heat. But, every time I try to go home 4 to 5 times a year in the DMV area, which is where my entire family's at. And then like something will happen and they're like, it's raining. I'm like, oh my God, rain. And then everybody's looking at me crazy. And I'm like, I'm watching the rain. I haven't seen rain in a year. You miss it.
My friend's wife or whatever, she came here when they left LA and she'd never seen a thunderstorm.
See what I mean?
I'm like, what do you mean you've never? She's like, we don't have thunderstorms in LA. I'm like, never?
We don't.
Ever?
We barely see drizzle.
Like, wow.
So yeah, I mean.
So she was just mesmerized by this like thunder and lightning and she was scared and she's like, what is that?
What's happening? Yeah, I know.
It's a storm.
So that's definitely something that I wish we would have, but we'll see. But it's definitely hot right now.
Definitely hot. Well, stay inside.
100%. Everything is like, all the programs that you have is like, what has AC, right? So it's like, it went from everybody would like to sit outside and eat. It's like, no, what restaurant are we going to that has AC?
That's AC.
Because we can't go to a non-AC place. Not when it's 108 outside. So.
That's not usually normal either, right? Like LA usually.
I know. It's usually in the like 80s, 75, 80s.
Every day of the year.
Now we have a huge heat wave, so hopefully it'll stop.
Hopefully nothing catches on fire.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed.
Yes.
Anyway, let's get into some past stuff. Like, so you worked in the service industry most of your life.
Mm-hmm.
So what you doing? What'd you start doing?
So, I mean, when I first started off, it was like basic. I've been mostly in the front of the house. Obviously, I go in the back as needed, but I've hostessed, served, bartended, then moved up to management. And so the most recently was when I was in San Francisco. I was at like an AGM of these 2 large restaurants. So like I was essentially even, being manager. You go where you're needed, right? So one
Right.
minute I'm in the kitchen expoing, next minute I'm serving or bartending or whatever it may be, or cleaning tables.
You're the
And
AGM.
so,
You have to do everything
I have to do
for a
everything.
salary.
It doesn't matter.
And if we need you to be there, you're going to be there.
Exactly. And so it definitely was a lot of years of doing that and doing the event world with the restaurants that I've been in. And then about like 5 years ago, I transitioned over to the hotel side, still, being
So
in touch
much
with
better,
that.
right?
Well, it definitely gave me a work-life balance. I'll tell you that much. Like the Monday through Fridays, not necessarily 8 to 5 because it varies based on clients, but it's at least Monday through Friday. And
401ks, health
have
insurance,
benefits,
dental insurance, right? You don't get that at the restaurants all the time.
You do not.
Hotel life versus restaurant life. I'm super into that.
It's definitely, not going to lie to you, I love the restaurant world. I miss it, actually. Sometimes I have friends here who own restaurants where I go and I volunteer. I'm like, let me just serve for a day, and I'll go and like serve and like, because I miss there's this energy that you get in a restaurant that you can't get anywhere else. And it's something about helping out in the kitchen with running food and all this stuff. And then like just finishing up pulling that last ticket and being like, kitchen closed. It's like that accomplishment.
And the teamwork
and everybody's just helping each other out. There's a huge like community feeling after the end of the shift. And then you're like, all right, let's go grab a drink. And then just sharing that first drink, like, oh, what a night. There's no greater feeling of that, right?
And then you talk about work for the rest of the night, even though you swore you were not going to.
Obviously. You're like, do you remember that table? Let me tell you what they said, So it's definitely that. But for the work-life balance, I just couldn't keep doing it because I was working. It was a moment, I remember that before I left the restaurant world, I worked 7 days straight for 3.5 months and no days off. I was just constantly, we were having staffing issues and I was just there, and I literally felt I lost friendships, I lost relationships. My family was like, you haven't been home for Christmas, Thanksgiving, birthdays, like what is like, it just, you realize that you basically are breathing, living work, and that's it. And that's when it was kind of like a decision of like, okay, how much longer can I do this for?
Not without days off.
No, it was a lot. And so then that's when kind of the transition kind of was like, all right, I need to find something else. But I love hospitality. So I didn't want to completely like leave it and go to like complete corporate America, which I did for a little bit. And I was like, nope, never mind. I went off right back out.
Well, I tried though.
I did try it. And I just realized it wasn't what was making me happy. I feel like when you do something that you love, you don't feel like that you're working. I enjoy my job. I enjoy what I do. It's just the thrill of it, of just like, even if it's like, hey, we're going to do some menu changes or whatever. And I get with my chef and I can give in my input. Like at least I'm still involved somehow in the food side of it. So
yeah, I always said I'd always want to bartend like 1 day a week. Oh, like forever, just because it's fun.
It is. I don't know about the once a month now. I would
maybe
go
once a month,
Yeah, once a month. I'll even push it to say once every 6 months. Well,
I don't like to go to bars either, so it's funner just to like go and like be behind the bar for a while, and you still get to like mingle and talk to people and be there.
Listen, bartending is like, you get some interesting people. you get to hear all the interesting stories. It's kind of like being a barber, right? You're like, you're sitting there. I think people just feel comfortable talking to strangers than they do the people they know. So everybody's just completely like verbal diarrhea of like telling.
Let me see if I can shock you with this.
Exactly. And you're like, and then you're sitting there with like, okay, how do I react to this person that I'm like, this is some insane story. But
sometimes you just roll your eyes and walk away.
Well, you're just like, wow, that's very interesting. Like when you don't have anything else to say.
So you really did consider murdering your entire family for a while there, huh? Okay.
Like, How intriguing. Tell me more.
Luckily you moved, huh? That's
Yes.
wow. Okay.
Glad
Cool.
you
You live
overcame
here
that.
now? Cool.
I
Don't let
know.
this guy back in.
I know. But that's the thing. It's like I wish there was a way to have that life and then a normal life, but it's not, because if you're going to work in the restaurants, you have to work the late shifts when they're open. You have to work weekends when the people are coming out. You have to work holidays because that's when people are going out. Like, so you can't have it both ways, right? So
nope, you will never have a New Year's where you get to kiss your lover ever again.
I mean, so like personally,
you know why? Because you're going to be at work.
New Year. Yeah, you'll be bringing it with other people, with strangers.
Yep.
And then like Mother's Day, Father's Day, all of these things, you're just like, yeah, those are the busiest days. So you can't have those off.
Nope.
So I honestly have the biggest respect for anybody who's in the service industry.
I know a couple places that make a point of being closed on holidays on purpose for their employees' sakes. Right. And
I understand that.
Somebody needs to teach in business school, and I don't think they teach this in business school, employee satisfaction. Right.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's not focused on. I don't think anybody even looks at it other than employees being a bottom line, what you can pay them and how much you can work them in order to make as much money as possible.
The profit margin, yeah. So you're just like, you're looking at your...
But that's not true because your business is your employees. And so unhappy, frustrated, angsty employees are not going to represent your company very well. They're not going to do their jobs to the full potential they could be doing them. They're going to talk shit about the place when they're not there. Right?
They're not going to be promoting it. I'll tell you that.
Right. So
don't go there.
Before anybody ever opens a business, anyone out there going to open a business, the first and foremost thing you figure out is a plan to keep your employees happy with a work-life balance, with hours that are manageable for them. Nobody should be working over 30 hours a week. Nobody should. Nobody should work over 30 hours a week. I
agree with you. It's just unfortunate that that's not the case.
It's not the way the world works.
Exactly. And then I think also
some places it does. Because there are companies. There are the new companies and they literally put these standards in place because they know that their employees are going to be more productive this way. They know they're going to come to work in that 30 hours and get way more done in that 30 hours and not waste that extra 10 to 15 hours of work where they would just be taking off on the clock waiting for it to be over. Right?
Taking breaks and whatever and like getting coffee. Yeah. And I think you're very right. I think understanding your employees is very big because when I was running the restaurant, I basically every single time, every holiday, because there were certain holidays that people cared about, others didn't. And so we were definitely closed on Christmas Day and Thanksgiving Day, right? But the day before Thanksgiving, we were open. And I would ask all my staff, okay, who wants
to work?
You can't have all three, right? So I'm like, what's important to you? Thanksgiving, Christmas, or New Year's? And then based on that, it was just like, okay, then just kind of schedule them. Because there's some people who are like, oh, none of my family lives here. I'm probably going to go home for Christmas, not Thanksgiving. So I'll work. They'll volunteer and say, I'm going to make money. So there's ways around it while still, instead of just being like, nope, here's your shift and not necessarily listening.
Because there always are those volunteers, right? There's a place.
There are people who are like, yeah, they don't either they don't like their family or they don't have family close by.
Or they know they're going to make money and they want the money. So
and they rather make money and still make it to dinner and still see their family. So there's ways around it without costing the place money. It's just sometimes people just don't care. I found it where if I was unable to touch the schedule and people were scheduled that I knew did not want to work those shifts, yeah, my rate of people calling off would just skyrocket. All of a sudden you're sick. All of a sudden there's an emergency. Oh yeah, right? It's like somebody died.
I thought your uncle died last week. No? Exactly. That was your other uncle. Okay.
Oh, I have a different one. And that's the thing. It's there's always this, I think it's preventable, right? If you kind of pay attention to your team. But there will be times where I'm like, yep, here it goes again. And then, I think I've had something where oh, my dog needs to get his cancer treatment. And I'm like, what? like, like, I didn't even know you had a pet. Right. And so,
let alone one with cancer. My goodness.
Yeah, I know.
Is he
and
okay?
Then it's like, and then weeks will pass and be like, how's your dog doing? It's like, oh, I don't have any pets. Oh, okay. Like, at least if you're going to lie, remember the lie. So I've had so many of those.
My dog's cancer treatment. That's great.
Yeah. Or the worst, I think the worst.
I mean, you could have at least gone with kitty leukemia, because we all know that's a thing.
But I mean, first of all, for me, it's like, just don't lie. Just say, I don't want to work. And then it's not like I'm going to make you. Yeah. But it's all of these different stories that people come up with. Sometimes it's really elaborate. Other times it's my car broke down. Sometimes it's like, oh, it's my boyfriend's sister's mother's husband's birthday. It's like, what? It's like
it's super important. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, I know. So it definitely, I mean, the service industry does have its pros and cons, but it's one industry that I have the most respect for and the biggest love for.
They just need to save their money better. If we could just get servers and bartenders just to save their money better, yeah. they would be fine. But instead, when you're waiting tables, you're in your 20s, right? You're partying after work every night.
Sure, lifer. There's some lifers out there that like that's the career move, you know. I think they like it for like the flexibility. I mean, here in LA, a lot of the people that I run into that are serving or bartending are usually pursuing something like, you know, acting or playwriting or whatever, maybe. Yeah, it's LA, right? And so they're in their like 40s and 50s, but they're writers and they need to pay their bill in between.
You can't make as much money just going to a regular job as you can standing behind a bar till 3 a.m, right? You just can't. It's almost impossible. And
that's another thing. It's like the money is
like, it's like I could be a stripper or a bartender, and I'm a little too old to be a stripper.
The options. Those are the only options. Yeah. And that's the thing, it's the flexibility of it, of just going and picking up shifts and working them and making the money that you need. It's just, I wish like a lot more people had a bit more respect for the amount of work that goes behind the service industry and how hard they work. And like, you know,
everyone should have to be in the military or work in a restaurant for 2 years.
I feel like it needs to be part of a curriculum in high school. You know how everybody does like shop class, whatever? I think it should be a requirement for everyone to work in the service industry. You can be a dishwasher, you can be a hostess, you can do whatever.
But you got to do something for at least a year. You need to do something.
Yeah. And then everyone will appreciate how hard it is to wait on people.
Right. And maybe you won't be such a dick to your server next time.
That's what I mean. Like a mistake happens, you know, the food comes out and you just berate your server like she was in the kitchen making it. Like a mistake happened. It's okay. I get it. You're upset. You're hangry, but there's levels.
You're hangry.
It's like, yeah, so it's like, I ordered this medium rare. It's medium. It's like, listen, she did not make your steak.
Also, have you tried just being a reasonable human being?
It's like,
have some respect for your fellow man, lady.
I know,
Karen.
I know. But yeah, so that's one of my biggest things is like, you know, as much as I miss it and whatever, I'm definitely don't miss that side of it. So,
you seem very happy. You seem like you're very happy now.
I am. And like I said, God bless my friends who own restaurants here who let me come and play. And I'm just like, you can pay me in food. It's a pooled house, so I don't even want the tips. I just want to go play. I want to like serve and have that interaction. And
also, I didn't want to have dinner with my cat again, so I'm here to hang out with you guys.
Very true. Very true.
Do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite recipe in here?
I mean, there's so many. I'm like, sorry that I have to point out the kitfo, which is also really good. I think it is. I think I always, from the vegetarian side, I always go to like the lentil stew. I love that just because honestly, it takes 30 minutes. So after a long day of work, you come in and just like, boom, 30 minutes, dinner's ready.
All right.
And then there's this other dish, and this is one because I do love my spices and I do love like meat, right? Carnivore over here. There's this dish called gored. It's like a cubed beef. So what it is, you just basically get the Ethiopian butter. You mix it up with the berbere, and then you get the best meat, of course. And then when the butter's nice and hot and mixed, you just pour it over the meat, and that's what cooks it. So it's kind of like rare to medium rare. And you just eat it.
That's it.
That's it. I mean, like I said,
grab some bread and go.
You could grab, if you have injera, great. If not, pita bread. If not, you can even put it over rice or just eat it by itself. And it's like one easy dish where you basically are just, the only thing that's taking a pot is the pot that you're warming up the butter in. So it's a one panner too. Fantastic. Yeah, I know. It's easy and simple and to the point. And, but if I'm being like healthy and I'm doing like lentils or the collard green dish, but sometimes you just come home and you're so tired and you have to choose between sleep and food. So those days is where I go with this dish.
But it's still delicious and so simple.
Oh,
yeah. I love it. Okay, so the book actually comes out October 4th. Mm-hmm. And it's available everywhere you can buy books?
Everywhere. So it's at Target. It's at Target.com, also Barnes & Noble, Amazon, obviously. A lot of bookstores are starting to carry it on their website. So it's kind of, if you literally just put Enebla in your search in Google, it will give you all the options. Exactly. And you get a lot of options. But yes, it's available for pre-order, but it does come out October 4th. So very excited.
Super exciting.
And a little over a month away.
I got one place to follow you at. Yes. Twitter?
It's actually on my Instagram.
Oh, that's your actual Instagram.
Yes, it's at Lula Moges. I'm not a very big social media person, but we are in the age of social media. So I'm like building my social media right now. So that's why you'll see only a few photos or postings. I'm building my way onto it.
There's more to come.
There's more to come. It's just more, I'm such a off-camera, behind-the-scenes person that being in front of it is I'm still getting used to it. So it takes a minute.
Nice. Well, go follow Lula at Lula. What? Oh, it's just your name. Moges. It's just your name.
Yeah.
LulaMoges on Instagram because she has lots more to come, and she's got this book. So go get the book and start making some Ethiopian at home. Apparently, the secret to the bread's in here.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Awesome. Well, thank you for hanging out with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
I'm gonna go make some bread.
Yay.
First, I gotta go on Amazon and get some flour.
Yes. Let me know how it turns out. I'm intrigued to hear.
I will for sure. Well, thank you so much, and have a wonderful rest of your day. And don't work too hard.
I will not. You do the same.
Awesome. Cheers. Ladies and gentlemen, go get Lula's book, Enebla. It's tasty. Super tasty. And go watch my television series, Beyond the Checkwork Edition, now streaming on Amazon Prime and Tubi TV. Cheers.